easing of GST is not a reform, because reform happened in 2015 when the GST was introduced. Yes. It was a very big reform, one of the most powerful, most difficult reforms that difficult economic reforms that any government has ever brought. So that reform has happened. Now it's a tinkering with rates. It is easing of rates, perhaps. It is easing of structures into two-part, etc., etc. So I wouldn't call this a reform. I would call this policy. Reform would be something like, let us say, compliance reforms. We had brought out this report, Jailed for Doing Business. I think you reported on it, where we enumerated 26,134 provisions under which a businessman can be jailed. This is 3 years ago. Now it must have grown, is our suspicion. We haven't done the numbers yet again. And there are 69,233 total compliances. This entire burden of compliances on the entrepreneur prevents him from working faster, being more productive. The harassment of the Inspector Raj that can come and destroy his business, shut it down at whims, is another danger. So I think this is the low-hanging fruit. This can be very easily fixed. Jan Vishwas 1 removed 113 imprisonment provisions. Jan Vishwas 2, which came about a few weeks ago, has removed another, I think, 300 or 400 provisions.
So these are steps in right direction.
These are steps. Now the Jan Vishwas 3 needs to come, and we need an overhaul of compliances that makes doing business easier. The second reform that can come is labor reforms. Most of the compliance reforms are also related to labor reforms. The Factories Act, for instance, has 71% of all compliances are in the Factories Act. If you actually, the reform has happened. The 29 labor laws have already been converted into 4 labor codes. Only the notification remains. So why the government is not notifying it, the government knows best. But that is the other big reform. We believe that if that reform comes, we would reduce our imprisonment clauses by around 50%. The third big reform Modi ji tried in 2021-22, which was the agricultural reforms. My sense is it is going to be extremely difficult to have those reforms on farmers, particularly because of the kind of protests we saw. Maybe it needs a better communication strategy, or we can leave agriculture to where it belongs. But if these two reforms, compliance reforms and labor reforms happen, I think it is going to be a 1991 moment